Oh, really?
Hello! It's me! Extra excited, really loud guy. I'm here with Tyler. Welcome to the Josh and Tyler Show. How do you feel about blue Jell-O? Or are you a green Jell-O guy? Or yellow?
I'm a red Jell-O. I'm a red Jell-O.
Red Jell-O.
Yeah.
Raspberry, cherry, berry. Awesome. I don't even know. We don't get through intros without making myself laugh. That is how this works. So, if y'all don't know, me and Tyler do a show every day. We put it up when we get the time. Tyler here has a YouTube channel. Check out Tyler Wolf with 2 F's for fucking fantastic. And today, I think we should make that a thing.
I like that.
It's great.
I really like the sound of that.
It sounds just great to me. So today we're talking TV shows, short sketches, anything that was on TV that's been adapted into a feature film. We're not going to talk dishonorable mentions, because y'all know Mortal Kombat Annihilation exists. Yes. Y'all know the Super Mario Brothers movie exists. Y'all knows they made an A-Team movie, etc., etc., etc. We all have ones we like or dislike.
Not gonna lie, I almost put the A-Team one on there just as a guilty pleasure. It's not good. Believe me,
Okay,
I know it's
the
not
portrayal
good.
of Murdoch is really great, but like everything else, I'm like, nah.
I don't know. I like the guy that they got to play BA. I thought Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper were fine.
I did not like Face.
I found Charlton Copley tolerable for once, because I do not like Charlton Copley.
So, these are all ones that we particularly enjoy. Are they particularly good? I know there's a few on my list that people are going to be like, that movie sucks.
Yeah, full disclosure, I actually picked ones that I thought were good as movies. I thought about picking a couple of guilty pleasures, but it's just like, that's his alley.
One guilty pleasure on here. One guilty pleasure because I gotta talk about it. I just think it's
Look,
the best.
Movies and shows that other people find bad but others good, that's his department. That's not mine.
Hey, I just ranted about Sleepaway Camp on our last video, so I mean, I don't know what y'all expect from me.
Hey.
But yeah, so, I guess I'll start because you did the last one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start off here and go with my honorable mentions. If you got any honorable mentions, I'm going to start with Duct Tape Forever. I really enjoyed that film. I grew up on Red Green. Me and my dad watched it together.
Oh.
And I thought it was just a fun road trip movie that paid homage to the series. I enjoyed it very much. I think my dad has it on DVD still. We watch it once in a blue moon and say, hey, that's quirkily weird 2000s funny.
Look at you putting Canada up on here.
Go Canada. I mean, it's Go Canada or America, fuck yeah, depending on which side you're on.
Which reminds me, my first honorable mention is South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
So good. Love that movie.
I should have put it on this list, but I did not. Speaking of Canada, Blame Canada, that's how it just hit my head.
Robin Williams doing Blame Canada.
Oh my
Priceless.
god, that was
fucking priceless.
Only he could have done that.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm also going to throw out the Yogi Bear movie they did in 2011 with Dan Aykroyd. I really enjoyed that. I think it was sort of very true to the early cartoons with Snagglepuss and the way they did the segments. I just like it. Is it great? No, but will I go back to watch this movie? Yes. I enjoyed it.
I prefer, I'm not going to lie, Justin Timberlake was good as Boo Boo. I'll give him that.
It's tied with me for like the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie because they're very true to the cartoon, but they're not great movies. They're very cartoon true.
Yeah,
and that's what I enjoyed about them.
What was Robert De Niro doing in there?
Hello, little Kiwers. I'm Bullwinkle James. Wait, you don't like my Bullwinkle?
Exit. Stage left.
Exit stage left.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks to Murgatroyd. That's right.
Exit. Stage left.
So let's, any more honorable mentions there? Because I just had a couple to throw out.
Yeah, The Untouchables. Brian De Palma did a really good directing job. You got great performances from Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, and Andy Garcia.
And they spoofed it in one of my films that I'm picking.
Oh, boy.
De
Niro as Capone, not one of his best, but not one of his worst either. Like, I know some people love him just for the novelty of how over the top he is. I didn't think he was in it enough to really give it that much of an impression, because he's kind of in it sporadically.
Fair enough. But yeah, Untouchables, the original show, is absolutely fantastic. It was Stallone's first starring role to do any guest part on TV, so he did 2 episodes. funny.
Nice.
And I love Stallone. He was just guy number one in an episode of like Gangster or something.
Right on.
So I'm just gonna hop right into it.
Okay.
My number one, this is again, I have them in order except for like the first three are they're all mixed up, but this one definitely on the bottom. Scooby-Doo. What do you want me to do?
I knew you were gonna put this on here. That's why I didn't.
Matthew Lillard as Shaggy.
Perfect.
Is spot on. The way they mix in the adult jokes of "Hello, my name is Mary Jane" with Isla Fisher.
Like that is my favorite name.
Fred is perfectly cast as Freddie Prinze Jr. What's her name? Who's playing Daphne and Velma are right on point.
Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne and Linda Cardellini.
Linda Cardellini now probably regrets doing this movie because she's like Oscar worthy now, you know, and because Green Book and stuff, she's been doing a bunch of those.
Oh, right.
And she did Dead to Me. She's been really, but I love this movie. And then you have Mr. Bean as Scrappy Doo of a shell of a person stealing spirits on an island with a theme park where like weird 2000 pop punk bands are playing and they're driving ATVs and they're having burping contests. And it's so Scooby-Doo, I don't know what is more Scooby-Doo. There's a haunted house they have to go through, a ride that's been closed. And they're wandering through it and they're finding this and they switch bodies and he can say, I can look at myself naked. This movie is so inappropriate for kids, but so if Scooby-Doo was going to be for adults and kids, and it's written by fucking James Gunn. James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy. I love this movie. I love the humor. I love the characters. The costumes are spot on. Yeah. I just think it's great to see Scooby walking in like a digital dress through the airport. And he's like, oh, I'm his aunt. And it's so stupid. The woman's allergic to dogs. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I love this movie. I love the sequel. I wanted the third one. I don't know what y'all expect out of me, but I fucking love Scooby-Doo.
I would much rather watch this over Scoob that came out this year. That goes without saying.
Because they didn't ask any of the voice actors back. They just made a movie, and it's basically the Blue
Which
Falcon.
I don't fucking understand.
I don't know.
Like, Kate Micucci just started playing Velma. How about giving her a shot?
Garfunkel and Oates are amazing. The Loophole, great song. Go-kart racing. Go-kart racing, accidentally masturbating. Look it up, it's fantastic. It's like weird, dirty Weird Al, like Lonely Island. It's amazing.
I might have to look that up.
And it's, what's her name? From the blonde woman from Knives Out is the other half of Garfunkel and Oates. Kate Micucci and...
I only know Kate Micucci.
She also played Fozzie's girlfriend on The Muppets. In the last iteration on TV.
Oh, shit.
What's her name? Anyway, but they're fantastic. Really, really funny. Yeah. I love
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I don't know Kate Micucci from Garfunkel and Oates. I know her from her other acting gigs, mainly as a... Because, like, she did Scrubs for a little while. Ricky Lake?
Is it Ricky Lake? I don't know. What's her name?
That's not her.
Who's the person from Knives Out?
I don't even think that was her. But
She's
regardless, like, I watched the Scooby-Doo movie so many times as a kid, thanks to pay-per-view. And I gotta say, like, a lot of people say that the adult humor takes it out of being faithful to the show, but I still think that it has all the typical conventions where you have the unmasking, you have the constant running around and slap gags that have absolutely nothing to do with the mystery, but you don't care because it's still fun and it shows that it's still... These characters still go to great lengths to help out other people by solving these cases.
Yeah, this movie holds a special place in my heart, because this was one of those movies that I grew up with, and I saw it in theaters. I saw both of them in theaters for, like, Ben Brunkert's birthday party. That guy was awesome. I don't know where he's at. I think he's a geologist somewhere. Good for that guy. Park ranger, I don't know.
Okay, you were close. Ricky Lindholm.
Yeah, she's the other half of Garfunkel and Oates. You've seen her in a bunch of movies and TV shows.
Have I really? Okay. I'm not sure that I've recognized her.
Knives Out. She was in Knives Out. She played the older.
Oh.
They aged her.
She's not the grandma.
No.
Is she Michael Shannon's wife?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but anyway, Scooby-Doo is one of those movies I saw in theaters. in a Listowel theater when they had a theater in Listowel. This tiny theater in Listowel.
They don't have theaters in Listowel?
They had one. I don't know if it's still there. But it's this tiny little theater with like one screen, and we all got popcorn. It was like a private birthday party screening, and we did a double of Fantastic Four and Scooby-Doo, and I'm like, life is the best thing ever.
That was the story you were talking about?
Yeah, it was a great time. Then the following, like, couple years later, we did another birthday party. We rented Scooby-Doo 2. We did Rise of the Silver Surfer. Conveniently, both came out the same year around that time. Oh my goodness. It's my childhood in a nutshell. I love Scooby-Doo. I've seen every Scooby-Doo on the planet. Ask me anyone. I've watched them. Everyone except for Scoob. I'm just waiting to buy it on Blu-ray.
Oh, it's out on Blu-ray already.
I want to buy a Criterion first.
I can't say it would be worth it.
I'm waiting to buy a Criterion and 12 Angry Men.
Chances are you would go for it anyways. But
I
do love the performances, how kind of tongue-in-cheek they are.
Yeah.
What's great about James Gunn's writing for this movie is that he subverts the cliches and constantly points it out. It's clear that he made this movie for the adults who grew up with the cartoon more so than current kids. And of course, that's where the marketing and the overall reputation of this movie really falters, but it's grown more and more with respect over time with the way it's more of a parody of the cartoon as opposed to an actual other reinstallment. And yeah, the adult humor, even though it technically doesn't make it good, it's the reason.
But they always had adult humor in Scooby-Doo. Shaggy and Scooby, you go this way. I'll go with the ladies. You know, they've always had that sort of. They just haven't said it.
It's not. And that's.
They've always had that undertone, and I think it's perfect. So, for me, anyway.
Hey, I can look at myself naked.
Anyway,
that part doesn't hold up. I'll admit
that part. I'm like, this is stupid.
Well,
but
that when he's funny. Just like, get your hands off me, Daphne. He planned this somehow, didn't he? Hey, good looking. Like, please tell me you guys are you.
Shaggy is perfect. He's been playing Shaggy ever since, except for Scoob. He's literally spot on.
Exactly.
So spot on. Matthew Lillard is Shaggy.
He's perfect.
So perfect. Anyway, we probably talked enough about Scooby-Doo. What do you got for for an adaptation there?
Okay, so speaking of adaptations of cartoons, I went with an anime adaptation, one that actually works because it was made by the exact same people who made the TV show.
It's not Ghost in the Shell, is it?
No. Although, to be honest, I really don't have that many problems with the Scarlett Johansson.
I sort of like that movie, but I know people hate it, so I'm making it
like, all jokes aside, it was as faithful as it possibly could.
It was pretty neat. I went and checked out Ghost in the Shell because of the movie, and now I appreciate the anime more than the movie, but I still appreciate the film.
Yeah, like, the anime movie's better than the live action that goes without saying.
That one's coming up, too.
Oh, cool. Yeah. But anyways, I went with Cowboy Bebop the movie. Very big fan of the TV show, and the movie takes place in between certain episodes, but it still stands on its own, as great adaptations should. It has the exact same voice dub from the English cast. The English cast that the anime creator Shinichiro Watanabe has flat out said he prefers over the sub translation that he came up with. That is really
Chris Stuckman's favorite anime, if I recall. He loves this thing.
It absolutely is, and for a damn good reason. And like most people our age, he's the one who introduced this show, introduced how great it was to us. And boy, he absolutely wasn't kidding.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me watch this. They thought it was too mature. I've watched a couple episodes. I'm like, I don't
this
get
is
it.
By no means one of the most mature anime.
I could have watched a lot of worse things, I'm going to be honest. They didn't let me watch Pokemon or Digimon either, so, I mean, they're fine. What's the big deal? There's tiny pocket monsters.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it still has the incredibly lovable characters. You got Spike Spiegel, you got Jet Black, Faye Valentine, Radical Edward, and her dog Ein. Love how cute that corgi is.
But corgis are the most adorable. Ask my wife. Absolutely. She will tell you any corgi is the cutest.
It has the exact same soundtrack in that of Yoko Kanno and her band, The Seatbelts. Not a great name for a band, but they come up with great fusion music that mixes so many different genres at once. Jazz, heavy metal, country. It is so... This show...
Seatbelts is the best name for a band.
Okay.
I will be honest. If I had a band and no one else had taken it, I would name myself like the Chair Cushions or something.
But the music matches the show and the movie's ever-changing genres because most people describe it as a space western because of how It has the Western cinematography, the character archetypes of anti-heroes who are constantly wandering. They don't want to save people, but they get shoehorned into it anyways. So it always has that Western crime thriller vibe. Some mafia stuff thrown in there because Spike Spiegel used to be a member of a certain Yakuza, but he fell out of it after he fell in love with his former best friend turned enemy's girlfriend, Julia, who is not in the movie, but he does talk about her at one point when he talks to the new character of this movie, this sort of government official agent named Elektra who is chasing down her former lover, Vincent, this guy who survived this chemical bombing, this virus, and now, after he has survived and gained immunity, he is attempting to basically unleash that virus onto everyone of this certain planet, because it takes place far into the future where other planets and different moons have become colonized and are somehow safe. Like, Europa is a moon of Jupiter in real life. Is it habitable? Probably not, but it's sci-fi. What do you expect?
I understand it's heavily influenced Firefly as well.
It has if you watch Firefly and Cowboy Bebop back to back, you can tell that Joss Whedon took the space western vibe and the team camaraderie. And I also think that James Gunn took a little bit from it when he made Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's a space traveling trio of bounty hunters / heroes in some certain aspect, who are not only very bad at their jobs, but they don't get along with each other because they also have trouble reconciling with the past, which has always been the greatest thing about Cowboy Bebop in its whole, because these characters, whether they do so in a lighthearted way or in a gritty, brooding way, have significant trouble addressing past mistakes or past traumas. Even this perky 11-year-old hacker Radical Edward, who is more of a feral child in the way she interacts with other people, has some hidden baggage in regards to her absent-minded father who loves her, but does not take care of her at all.
It sounds very character-driven. I've seen a few episodes
it is absolutely
a while back, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. One of these days I'm going to watch it.
Here's the thing, like, the first 3 episodes when it's just Spike Spiegel and Jet Black, even though they're great characters and have terrific chemistry, it's not the most interesting when it's just the 2 of them. Because the team actually builds and builds over time to the 4 of them, and then the dog. Like, the dog comes in after the 2 of them have already met, and then Faye Valentine, who is a little promiscuous, but has also got this slimy con artist mentality because that was her gig before becoming a bounty hunter. And then Radical Edward being this absent-minded, homeless, feral child who's incredibly good with a computer.
Yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. One day I will watch it. There's just a lot of animes to watch.
There is, but this is a great one to start off with, especially if you're not even a fan of anime.
I'm a fan of anime, I just haven't gotten around to it.
No, but here's the thing. I wasn't before I checked this show out. And the fact that it took itself so seriously while also having this Quentin Tarantino level of eclectic, because that's my best way of describing this show. It's eclectic in the best possible way, and also has more homages and tributes to American cinema than Quentin Tarantino. It has some Clint Eastwood and Bruce Lee homages, namely in that of Spike Spiegel, who was played excellently by Stephen Bloom. It's a great movie. It's a great standalone movie, too.
Yeah, I like anime. I just haven't gotten around to a lot of it, and my wife introduced me to it. So I'm very good with any anime, just don't like the really weird ones.
Oh, this is not like a trope.
It's not weird. It's not over the top.
It doesn't have the exaggerated facial expressions that you would see on like Avatar or Teen Titans.
Well, the anime I'm talking about is like Food Wars and 7 Deadly Sins and Attack on Titan.
No. It's nothing like it is nothing like
Free, a swimming anime. Yes, I've watched that. Or I've read the manga of How to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon because my wife likes it. I've watched a lot of weird shit.
Is like none of those anime, and that's the best compliment I can give it.
So I'm just gonna go here and jump into the next one, and I don't know if you have one of these on your list. I like the Star Trek franchise. I like the Next Generation. I don't know if you put one of these films on your list.
I decided not to, just because I figure, one, I knew you were gonna pick one of these for sure, and plus, I never latched onto the Star Trek shows. I kind of enjoyed the Star Trek movies as their own thing.
I like the Next Generation. I've seen the original series. I've seen Deep Space Nine. I really like The Next Generation. So when it came around to Star Trek movies, I like The Search for Spock. I like The Wrath of Khan. But my favorite here is, and all the Star Trek fanboys are going to be like,
it's Insurrection, isn't it?
Nope. Star Trek Beyond. I like Star Trek Beyond. Star Trek Beyond. Okay. I saw the first Star Trek movie by J.J. Abrams. It was all right. I like it very much. I saw Into Darkness. It's The Wrath of Khan.
Yes,
and then I saw Beyond. And Beyond took Star Trek, gave us your space diplomacy and the phasers and the red shirts, but it gave us this new approach and these new planets. And it gave us Idris fucking Elba in the movie. And it gave us all these fantastic performances. Probably the best we've seen. Chris Pine as Captain Kirk there. And Spock is in there. We get the flashbacks. We get everything I love about Star Trek. Because I like a lot of Star Trek. I don't like the boring episodes. Again, there's some that are just talking. But I like the ones where they do something. And this movie gave us a really fun mechanic where they can jump around. And I don't know what you call that, but it's really neat.
Well, so far you've left out Sophia Boutella as Jayla, who was badass and a really awesome character, too.
I was working on my way to get that.
Okay.
But it gave us, I think, my favorite moment in the whole Star Trek sabotage. Oh my God, it's sabotage! And just all the spaceships, and they're programming it, and I'm like, what is this? And why have I never watched this till now? Oh, right, it just came out, and I saw it in theaters. But I love this movie. This is my, if I'm like, let's watch a Star Trek movie. I'm like, yeah, let's watch Beyond. You know? Like, I'm not a big fan of Into Darkness. I like all the other movies. I will sit down and watch A Voyage Home. I enjoyed A Voyage Home. Is it stupid? Yes. I will watch Generations. But I love this movie. It's the most enjoyable. It's fun. Great performances. Wonderful special effects. I don't think it was nominated for anything. And that's a shame because this movie is the example of a mix between a blockbuster and making that intellectual property respected.
It was nominated for Best Makeup. It lost out to Suicide Squad, of all things, which I do not understand.
Can you believe this? Oscar-winning Suicide Squad.
Well, let's not forget, 50 Shades is an Oscar-nominated movie just because it has good music.
Taylor Swift doesn't make something
Not
good.
her.
No, I'm kidding.
I was talking about The Weeknd, genius.
Oh, so The Weeknd did a song for that?
Yeah, he did Worth It for the first movie.
Oh. I watched the first one.
Don't get me wrong, like, if it had nothing to do with 50 Shades, it would be a much more respectable song.
I went to the theater to see everything for 5 years. And I went to the theater, I'm like, this 50 Shades of Grey could be interesting. Nope.
Why would you say that?
Because I'm optimistic about movies I haven't seen. I'm not going to walk into a movie and say it's a piece of crap.
But I'm still realistic about it.
I didn't know it was based upon a book. I knew nothing. I just thought it was going to be sort of an erotic thriller. I'm like, it could have some really interesting human drama. It did not.
You want erotic thriller? Go watch Color of Night or some shit like that.
There are better ones out there. But yes, I'm going with Star Trek Beyond. Thoughts on that?
I agree wholeheartedly. This is actually, one of my favorite Star Trek movies just because it understands why we go to see a Star Trek movie. Yeah. The characters and the space locations and the action and everything
and like Idris Elba. We like Idris Elba.
I didn't think his character was all that interesting up until the third act. I know that was intentional, but just seeing him as another brooding dictator alien type of creature just wasn't all that interesting until we get that audio tape confession, and then things start to make a hell of a lot more sense. And it's obviously what they were trying to do with Cumberbatch in Star Trek in the Darkness, but he was the only thing that really was salvageable about Star Trek in the Darkness.
I just watched Wrath of Khan again, to be honest, because Wrath of Khan's a pretty great movie.
Yes, it is.
It's great. Like, I was really tempted to pick that one, but then I'm like Beyond. It's the most rewatchable for me.
It's also proof that Justin Lin isn't a good director just for Fast and Furious. He shows that he still has it for shooting basic dialogue scenes, shooting action sequences, especially with Sophia Boutella as Jayla, because she was the big standout for me personally. Loved the design of her character. Loved her performance. Her makeup design should have gotten that Oscar in and of itself. Same with Idris Elba, because he had work done on him too.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like how they mishmash certain characters whenever they get split up. Because seeing Spock and Bones interact with each other was something I had no idea I needed. And it also made me realize, oh yeah, these two don't really talk to each other that often.
And Simon Pegg, he's my favorite part of every Star Trek movie. I love that guy.
And the fact that he co-wrote this movie just
Yep,
shows how
yep.
big of a fan he is when it comes to the original source material.
Yeah, he's a huge fan. And it's a sad thing it didn't make any money because we're probably not going to get another one in the same universe with the same cast.
I found that very weird, too.
People didn't like it. I'm like, why not? It's so Star Trek-y. I don't understand.
Well, people liked it more than Into Darkness, but I think some people were spoiled of the original J.J. Abrams one because they just couldn't believe that it was as good as it was.
I like that one, but I do think it has third act problems, which is fine, but I still had a great time watching it.
Not gonna lie, I think Eric Bana was a better villain than Idris Elba, because they, fleshed them out a lot more, and even if you know shit about Romulans, it doesn't really matter all that much. But I think with the J.J. Abrams debut, they just had a lot more to prove with that one, and I think that's why people still appreciate it more. For me, I prefer Star Trek Beyond just for the entertainment value of it all.
Oh, it's totally entertaining.
But yeah, Star Trek Beyond, probably my favorite. Love Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, Anton Yelchin, Simon Pegg, Sophia Boutella, Idris Elba. Love the team dynamics.
If Dredd was a TV adaptation, it would be on this list. Anyway,
make Dredd 2.
Oh my goodness. Give me anything Dredd related. I don't care if it's Stallone or Carl Urban. Prefer Carl Urban, though.
I prefer Carl Urban, too.
I still like the Stallone one. Max Van Sydow is the guy in the desert.
Yes, it was.
So what do you got? What's another adaptation we should be talking about?
Okay, so my second one is an adaptation of one of the most beloved TV shows of all time. It was a movie that people, once they saw it, said, we didn't necessarily need it, but we loved it. I felt like I needed it a little bit, because this was the first time we really got to see this character be out on his own, be as badass as we remember him to be regardless. And Aaron Paul was awesome as Jesse Pinkman in El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. In fact, I would argue that he was better in this movie than he was in certain seasons of Breaking Bad.
I watched 3 seasons of Breaking Bad. I'm still catching up, but I have not seen the movie. Is it worth my time?
Well, here's the thing. You need to understand what happened in the show to understand the movie.
2 seasons.
That's the one drawback I really have with the movie, is that it's not really standalone. But the performance that Aaron Paul gives throughout this film, as well as some of the other side characters, because there are some recurring characters that we love from the show that show up every now and then, especially Robert Forster, who doesn't show up till season 5, so you haven't gotten that far.
I will get there, but I'm enjoying
in one of his last performances, he was quietly sneaky as this guy who knows how to give people alternate identities so that they can hide away forever. So Jesse's in a tight spot to get that much money. There are these other guys who run their own gang who are responsible for some really dark and fucked up shit that, I'm trying to remember, fuck.
It's okay. You can do spoilers on this. The show's been out a while. I'm just trying to catch up.
No, I'm trying to remember this one actor. He was Kirsten Dunst's husband on Fargo. He was in The Irishman as Al Pacino's foster son for absolutely no reason. And he shows up as Todd from Breaking Bad, this slimy white supremacist who is unbelievably polite. He's one of those villains who's polite about everything.
White supremacist people. You heard it here first.
Hey, watch the fucking show and you will understand. And as I'm looking up Todd Alquist, because, yeah, if he's a white supremacist, he's got to have a joke.
But I mean, there are...
Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, who gets to do stuff in this movie that he didn't get to do throughout the entire time that he was on in Breaking Bad. Fleshed out the prisoner-captive relationship that we only saw in a couple episodes of the show. It's expanded upon where he just flaunts how much power he has over Jesse and abuses it to his fullest potential in such a quiet and subtle way for these flashback sequences that happen in between the time that Jesse is trying to get back this money and in some cases steal it through force, especially during the climax where, I'm not even kidding, it's a good, bad, and the ugly stare down in the best possible way. And the fact that Vince Gilligan directed this movie, because he's never directed a movie before, but he directed God knows how many episodes of the show.
Seems like a good fit.
Yeah, and he still has that Sergio Leone mentality in regards to the cinematography and the editing, because it has all of the point of view shots of the guns in their holsters. It has the extreme close-ups of their eyes and their nose as they're squinting, and then the final payoff is just so quick that it's just hard not to get sucked in.
How is Clint Eastwood not in this movie squinting?
That is a really good question, but you know what? It just shows that Aaron Paul has still got it as an actor, because we don't really see that much of him
Yeah,
anymore.
he did Need for Speed, and then the world forgot minus Breaking Bad.
Yeah. But you know what? He was good in Need for Speed, and Need for Speed had moments.
I sort of enjoyed Need for Speed, I'm going to be honest, because I didn't expect anything out of that movie, and I thought, well, I came in with no expectation, and I had fun watching the thing.
It was a Fast and Furious knockoff.
Oh, 100%.
But in regards to recreating a bullet type of car chase, it did that.
The car chases were good. That's what I liked.
Yeah. But regardless, El Camino was a great send-off for Jesse Pinkman as a character.
Not the indie album that everyone loves.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll put one at you here. Dun, 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 dun. I love the Mission Impossible franchise.
You know what? That is my number one.
We'll save that till number one.
I put that in the franchise because you can't judge...
Which one are you taking? Which number? Which Mission Impossible what one?
I'm going to go with Fallout.
Damn it. We'll save it till number one. I will just skip ahead then.
Yeah.
We're going to go with one of my favorite Harrison Ford's performances.
Oh.
When I came home, there was a man in my house, and he had one arm or something like that. I don't care. Let me jump off a waterfall. The Fugitive. Freaking love The Fugitive.
Knew it.
I like Harrison Ford, even though he doesn't like people, or like his movie career, or doesn't like doing interviews, or doesn't like being a human being. He is fantastic in The Fugitive, based upon, was that 1960s TV show? That was, it's okay. I've watched it all. It's a very long and drawn out. They summarized all the best parts into this 2-hour phenomenal action movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. It was so good, it got a sequel where Robert Downey Jr. was the bad guy, and it made me very happy because I didn't like him at that point in my lifetime in U.S. Marshals. And he's a doctor. His wife is killed after this big old party there for McGregor or something, drugs.
Yeah.
And he has to find out who killed his wife. And we get these phenomenal action set pieces, not sex pieces. I would not have sex in a dam. Maybe some people's kink, but there's a few too many rats for me. That's not a bit.
Trust me, I know that's not a bit.
We get this where he jumps off a waterfall. We get Tommy Lee Jones. He's like, all right, I want borders on perimeters on a 10-mile basis, and you give me a coffee.
We have a fugitive out there, boys. Let's go get him.
But the thing about it is, it seamlessly blends action, drama, and intelligence. We get a big action set piece like the dam, or running through the forest, or the way he colors and does this big dog chase. But then we also get this dramatic moment where they break into a house and they think one of the people who has escaped from this incredible train sequence that is real, they crashed an actual train. It's insane. Into this house, and one of his rookies get a gunshot right by his ear, and he freaks out, and he thinks he's going to die. We get this moment of drama and this real human emotion from the guys who are hunting, who we're after. But then we also get this level of intelligence where he's tracking down in this could be the most boring sequence of the movie, trying to figure out whose arm this is, and he's tracking it down and going through and eliminating by process on a Windows 3.1 computer or something. And we get to see him interact with character people from his life. We get to see him finally find out that McGregor Drugs realized that they had to get rid of him because he's the one holding back this drug that's making them a ton of money, and his best friend's betraying him, and this one-armed man is a hired gun, Richard Sykes, who's, I don't know who the actor is, but phenomenal portrayal there. We get the train sequence, the dam sequence. There's maybe 3 or 4 action sequences in here. The St. Patrick's Day parade sequence. But they're all incredibly memorable, well choreographed, no shaky cam, just simple, brilliant thrilling action from beginning to end. And the first time I watched this, I'm in my media studies class in like grade 10 because I didn't know what to take. But I'll take the class where we watch movies. And I'm like, we have to wait till the next period to watch this movie. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going home and watch the movie myself. Find a copy, watch the whole thing, come back. I'm like, I'll watch this again. I love this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's your reaction to my... Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it worked, didn't it?
What are your thoughts on this movie?
I do think it is very good. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Harrison Ford performances, but I do acknowledge that it is one of his best. It is one of my favorites of Tommy Lee Jones, however, back when he still gave a shit about his career. Back when his stone cold, I don't give a shit attitude really served performances, which he has not done since No Country for Old Men.
Great performance.
Maybe Hope Springs, since I wouldn't be too thrilled being married to Meryl Streep either. But
Meryl Streep.
Meryl
Streep.
Or have Steve Carell as my marriage counselor.
Yeah, I can't think of anything Tommy Lee Jones has done since No Country for Old Men.
I'm trying to remember, because he did something else. Well, other than Men in Black 3, that one's...
Men in Black 3 was okay.
It had its moments.
The first one was great.
And not gonna lie, Josh Brolin would have been as perfect as a substitute for Tommy Lee as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and of course you know what U.S. Marshals was. I actually saw that as a kid before The Fugitive, not knowing what it was. It stumbled halfway through where there's a shootout in a cemetery or whatever, which leads to a half-decent foot chase. But, yeah, The Fugitive is a much better movie in the grand scheme of things. It's much more structured in plot and character. Harrison Ford is really good. It also has Neil Flynn, the janitor from Scrubs, and how his appearance in The Fugitive ties into a Scrubs episode where JD sees the movie, sees him, and it's just like... Huh. Same person? Probably. I love that. I love that they threw that in there.
I've seen a bit of Scrubs, and it's one of the. I'm working my way through Breaking Bad, and then his Dark Materials, and there's just a bunch of stuff. But Scrubs is on my list.
Like I said, his Dark Materials is only 8 episodes.
I know. I will get to other things eventually. But yeah, what else you got on that list of yours besides number 1, obviously?
Okay, so the first is one of 2 choices of mine that used to be SNL skits and characters adapted into movies. And I think that we can agree there are only 3 good SNL movies out there.
One of them is not Coneheads.
One of them is a sequel to the other. And not gonna lie, I watched those 2 together. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this one. I don't get this movie. Maybe I'm dense. Maybe
we'll
I don't understand.
We'll get to that. What
do you love about the Wayne's World?
Oh, that's higher up.
Oh, that's higher up. What's the other one then?
So my number 4 is the Blues Brothers.
Oh, I love this movie.
Yeah, exactly. And there's not really much I can say about the Blues Brothers that people haven't already, like the fact that Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi do have a legitimate brotherly chemistry with each other because of how long they've been working together. They both left SNL not long before making this movie, so they were already trying to branch off and have their own careers with each other, and this was probably the only time where they actually captured that success, because no one's ever heard of the time they made Neighbors, and for good reason.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
It's where John Belushi is the nerd and Dan Aykroyd is the hoser. It's not good.
Is Neighbors with Seth Rogen technically a remake then?
It probably should have been, but no. Okay. If it was a remake, it would have been one of the best remakes, but yeah. But no, everyone knows the Blues Brothers. They're on a mission from God, gotta get that money for the orphanage.
Carrie Fisher has a rocket launcher.
Yes, Carrie Fisher is a psychopath bride who is basically out to kill John Belushi for leaving her at the altar. And when I say leave her at the altar, I mean he got arrested and really had no choice but to leave her at the altar.
And she has a rocket launcher.
Yes, she does. And a flamethrower.
Yep.
And explosives.
Yep.
And an M16.
She's pretty much the bounty hunter from Return of the Jedi trying to kill John Belushi.
And just as successful when you really think about it.
Yeah, because she's holding a thermal detonator, but she didn't detonate it, so whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I love the performances. I love the sight gags, especially the car chases. The car chases are some of the best of all time. Yep. Hey, look at that. Pier 1 Imports. Yeah, lots of space in this.
They made fun of the French Connection and added 30 more cop cars.
That's true. Like the very final car chase does have
Oh my goodness.
does have the POV shots, very much so a French Connection.
Many cop cars.
How they almost hit civilian cars. That's thrown in there just like French Connection. 30 car pileup. That was a Guinness World Record for a while until Blues Brothers 2000, where they doubled it for absolutely no reason. And then it just
talk about that movie.
Look, there's one good thing about Blues Brothers 2000: the soundtrack.
Fair enough, but the original soundtrack with Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin and all those people.
Yes.
Everybody.
Which is another great thing. It knows how to make extended cameos feel natural, part of the story, and if nothing else, just entertaining. I could watch Aretha Franklin sing Think in a Soul Food Place over and over again. In fact, I have actually memorized the choreography that the Blues Brothers do when they, for no reason, jump into the dance number that is saying, "Don't join them," because the music is just that good. And not gonna lie, I think Aretha Franklin sang Respect better in 2000 than she sang Think in 1980. Maybe just because I prefer Respect as a song, but the choreography in 2000 when they're dancing to Respect is a little bit more elaborate and a little more quirky. Plus, having a kid dance to Respect, it's pointless, but it's still fun to watch either way.
I love this movie.
Absolutely. Not gonna lie, the extended version is pointless. It drags the pacing out a hell of a lot more than it already was in the theatrical one, and the theatrical run was already very slow as it is in regards to how they get from point A to point B, rehiring every member of the band. And not every member of the band is a good actor, but the fact that they still play themselves is still a nice little novelty. Not to mention, Cab Calloway's Minnie the Moocher. That was outstanding. I loved every second of it. I loved how it pays tribute to blues music by having very respectable covers. Some of the best covers in any movie ever. One of the best, if not the best, jukebox musical of all time, because that is really what it is. And the songs don't even really tie that much into the plot. They tie into each situation that they're in.
Rawhide, for example. Move them up. Rawhide. All right, let's play it again.
Or Stand By Your Man for absolutely no reason other than it's just a country staple.
Better version than in Goldeneye.
Yeah. And not to mention, of course, as you pointed out, Ray Charles doing Shake a Tail Feather. And, of course, being the blind guy who somehow knows that a kid is about to swipe his guitar.
Ray Charles must have the best time. He plays his song and hangs out with funny people. Like, what's not to love?
Oh, absolutely. Not to mention Jailhouse Rock.
Yep.
Awesome Prison Riot. And the fact that all the characters are singing it in post-production. James Brown is in this movie.
Yep.
And makes you actually want to jam out to church gospel, even if you don't believe in that stuff.
James Brown is an infectious human being.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I love this movie. We've said a lot of things on it, but yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love The Nun with the Ruler. We're on a mission from God. It's insane.
Well, I guess you're up shit creek.
I'm going to throw one at you here. One that you might not know is a TV show remake. Denzel Washington's The Equalizer.
That I knew.
It's based upon a mad TV show from the 80s, but Denzel Washington's Equalizer 2 is another animal. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's basically Denzel Washington, retired hitman, drinks tea at a diner every night with a perfectly folded thing, reading 100 books, sees a girl in trouble, and does something about it by killing people with hardware store items. And I love this. The kills are great. The setup is great. It's a very simple and streamlined plot. The Kevin Spacey knockoff as the bad guy, forget what his name is, that's what I call him.
No, that's fair.
Is phenomenal with this sort of Sixth type of thing before it became overdone with, like, Taken 3 with Forrest Whitaker with a chess piece and everything. It was a little too much.
I haven't seen Taken 3, so I can't
But
say.
You know how they always have that one thing they fidget with or whatever? This is where I think it really got its footing. And we see Denzel Washington, this nice guy, trying to help out this girl, having her a conversation, bringing her cake, joking around at work, working at this Home Depot knockoff. Like, I'm Gladys Knight and the Pips. And, you know, third from the left, right? And it's this, we get this fun introduction to the character, and it all is an analogy of this book. Because he's reading, I think it's Moby Dick, how the old man is trying to catch the fish, but he never catches the fish. And he does this, and it's very unique, and we eventually get to see him get closer to her, and he's like encouraging her to buy a karaoke machine and record her own music and really learn about the world and such, even though she's technically an imprisoned child slave, I guess, sex prisoner.
She's a child
by the Russian, by the Russian mafia. And he slowly sees this, a descent into his old life that he did not want to go back into. And he starts to kill these guys. He offers this guy $1,700 to buy her freedom. And, nope, sorry. So he picks up a couple skulls, turns them around, points them at people. They laugh. He says 17 seconds. He kills a bunch of guys, shot blast through the eye. I love this sequence. It's very, very well done. And he goes back to obscurity. Doesn't even show up on the security cameras. You can tell I've watched this movie.
Yeah.
And they bring in Nikolai Koskov, the fixer, to come in, and he eventually starts taking down the whole Russian mafia, torturing a cop in his car with this gas leak sequence, revealing this whole warehouse, giving these people $1,000 tips and say, thanks for coming into work today for money laundering, you know. Taking, and then the finale sequence is one of the most brutal but awesome sequences I think I've seen in any Denzel Washington film, because he's not one for heavy violence all the time. He's usually more for drama or talking pieces or a good gun battle, you know what I mean? But he gets to, like, some guy gets his throat cut with barbed wire, and he puts a drill to this guy's head, and he fights with glass in the section with, like, one of the random mustache villains who showed up in every movie in the 2010s. You know that guy. You've seen him. And then, at the end, he just leaves the girl the money that he would have given for her freedom. A note. That's it. It's simple. It's effective. It pays homage to the TV show. And by itself, you wouldn't even know there was a TV show unless you watched it. And I love this movie. The lighting, the tone. I love the rainy sequence. Just everything about this is magical.
Magical is not quite the word I would use for it, but you do make a lot of great points. And from what I understand, there are other subplots where he's also trying to help people out through illicit ways.
Yes. He does. Someone robs the Home Depot type store and steals the wedding ring, so he goes and bashes the guy's skulls in with a hammer and returns the wedding ring to the till.
So all those other subplots are just an example of paying tribute to how episodic.
But these are, and then he also is helping Ralphie lose weight so he can make the security guard exam. But that's at the beginning just to introduce his character, and it's not the main thing.
I remember that part.
And that was just, I think it's maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but it's like, this guy's helpful. You put chips in your salad instead of alfalfa sprouts or whatever. But yeah, those side plots do not detract from the main story because they're very small.
Yeah.
And they show his purpose and drivenness to be focused, which allows him to create the kill.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Have you seen this thing?
I've seen parts.
Okay.
I'm not a huge Denzel guy. I like him, but I don't love him.
I've watched Man on Fire more times than I can count.
So is my dad. He's not even a Denzel guy either. But he fucking loves
anything Denzel does, he always brings... Why do you think I want people to see Fences? It's very well done. Even though...
Oh, absolutely.
He's a phenomenal actor. He's Broadway. He's on screen. He's top-notch.
Yeah. And with Fences, he's also a good director, too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with one that I've kind of talked about when we were discussing our recasting of Spaceballs, how there were several actors that come from this one particular movie. But you know what? This is one of the funniest movies I ever saw in the 2010s, and that movie is 21 Jump Street.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
A movie that doesn't really have that much to do with the show. It's very much its own thing. It's just an excuse for Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum to do some gross-out stupidity moments.
And Ice Cube.
Ice Cube being the angriest he has ever been in a film, and that is exactly what makes him the shining spot for sure. Not to mention, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum really do make an unlikely comedy duo.
Yes, they do.
But they are so awesome together. I love the fact that Channing Tatum is there to help out Jonah with the physical attributes of being a police officer, as opposed to Jonah Hill just being Channing Tatum's tutor. Like, they really help each other out. And they find that they do have a lot of things in common, despite the fact that they were nothing but enemies in high school. Very awkward high school, because seriously, even back then, they looked like 40-year-old men. But
Yeah.
That's the best running gag about 21 Jump Street. How it constantly makes fun of actors who are way too old for their parts. The way Channing Tatum, especially, with Rob Riggle going, when did you hit puberty? Like 7 or something? Or Dave Franco going, this is perfect. You look like a teenager. You don't, but you're still tall and strong and intimidating and whatnot. And of course, Jenna Fisher hitting on Channing Tatum. Let me check out your chest and check out your test. Like, little things. The little things in this movie make it a hell of a lot funnier.
Have you seen the original show?
I've never seen the original show.
The original show is silly and 90s.
All I knew...
It is not as comedic as this one, but it definitely needed a parody, sort of on-spot, like, version of it. Some of those plots were dumb.
All I knew was that was how Johnny Depp, like, really got his foot in the door, and I knew for a fact that he was going to show up as his original character. That's really the only way this movie and the show tie in with each other. Him and his original partner getting fucking blown away, because it's just like, yeah, you were in Jump Street? Yeah, we did this all the time. Like, it was hilarious, and it was nice to point out that these things, these cliches and conventions just do not hold up anymore.
87 to 91, I think the original show ran. But
yeah,
honestly, it's very of its time. It's incredibly dated. Unless you're a huge Johnny Depp fan, you're not going to go back and watch this.
And not going to lie, this movie's probably going to get dated after a few years, but I'm going to enjoy it for as long as I can, because it's just... Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, I could watch these guys forever. They are awesome. They are so natural with each other. I can laugh my ass off at the two of them ingesting possibly lethal drugs and then trying to come up with a way to throw it up. It's just like, make me think of saying something gross. Okay, your grandmother's vagina is... And to the point where they just have to finger each other to hopefully try and make each other throw up, which just does not work. Or my personal favorite, where Jonah Hill is dressed up like Peter Pan for a school play, and they have to sneak out of school to spy on a drug bust, and in order to blend in, it's just like Channing Tatum grabs him and goes, here, pretend to suck my dick. Why do I have to pretend? Because I'm wearing a fucking Peter Pan costume.
It works a lot better than the Brothers Grimsey. That scene is just awkward.
The what?
The Brothers Grimsey.
Oh, fuck that.
But yeah, I think this movie will age a lot better than most of the modern comedies, because, I mean, if I remember, what's a modern comedy that came out? Fist Fight. Tag.
21 Fist Fight happened.
Fist Fight was, or even Bad Teachers. Much as I love it, it's not going to age well, you know what I mean?
No.
Or as much as I love Mike and David's Wedding Dates, or any of these type of movies, they're just not going to age well. That's just how it is. That's a fact.
No.
So,
I'm not gonna lie, like, the chemistry between these guys was so good, it was enough to make the sequel just as funny. Not funnier, but just as.
So here's a question. They wanted to make the Men in Black crossover with 21 Jump Street.
I would not have been there.
You would not... Well, let me just jump into one that's based off a TV show. A TV show I love very much. The Naked Gun, Files of Police Squad. Particularly the first one, I think, is... The whole trilogy, really... for me, watching this whole trilogy, have you seen any of these movies?
See, I've never been as huge of Leslie Nielsen as much as he was in Airplane.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna lie, by the time I discovered Naked Gun, I had already kind of gotten sick of Scary Movie, which they also got him in there because he was in Airplane, and that set everything off, so why wouldn't they throw him in there?
He did Mr. Magoo around that same time, too.
Don't remind me.
I really enjoyed that movie. So Naked Gun follows Frank Durbin, a police officer working for a police squad, trying to... Excuse me, there's a fly on it. There we go. And he's working for them, trying to protect the queen because someone's trying to assassinate her in the first one there. And he falls in love with Jean, and there's some hilarity that ensues in this first film. I'm just going to lift off some gags. When they realize, we got Richard Montalban here as the bad guy. He's the bad guy.
Ricardo Montalban is the bad guy?
He's the bad guy, and he has an office, and he's clearly behind the assassination. He's clearly the bad guy. It's a... Damn fly. Go away. Go away.
They're never going to get the fuck out of here.
But he is the bad guy in this, and he goes into the office. And Ricardo Montalban's going to walk in. And he drops this pen in the fish tank. Have you seen this sequence? He drops this pen in the fish tank. So he reaches in to get this pen. But they're Japanese fighting fish, so they bite onto his hand. So he's trying to get this fish off his hand, and he's whacking it around, and he ends up stabbing it through the pen, putting it into the fish tank, and having it float upwide. And Ricardo Montalban is like, did you see my rare Japanese fighting fish? I paid $1,000 each. And he's like, no.
That is good.
And Ricardo Montalban does this thing, and there's this assistant, and then he eventually falls. Get away from the
dude. It's not gonna go.
But it's gonna use the touchscreen and press the stop button.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and he eventually hooks up with Renee Russo, or not, whoever her name is. Renee. I can't remember what her name is. It's not Renee Russo. It's the same person.
Priscilla Presley and O.J. Simpson are in this.
Yeah, O.J. Simpson is in this, and he's got a scene I'll get to in a minute. But he's so in love with her. And they're like kissing on the couch, like really cheesily romantic. And he's like, if we're gonna go any farther, we have to use protection. She's like, I agree. They put full body condoms on, and they're just humping in full body condoms. O.J. Simpson at the beginning gets injured, and he's on a boat, and he's like, I was on a mission, and I got shot. And they're trying to go over the bit in the hospital. And he gets shot like 300 times, and he keeps falling down and getting back up, and he's like, ah! Bang, bang, ah! He eventually finds the queen and gets a turkey stuck in her crown over dinner. It's so funny. And then they finally do the big finale. And it's my favorite joke of the whole movie because I'm dying of laughter in this thing. Sight gags, physical comedies, puns, jokes, you name it. And the bad guy falls up. The bad guy falls off the top of this stadium, gets run over by a steamroller, and then a marching band walks over him. And I'm already dying of laughter. And his buddy just looks at him and he's like, yeah, my father went the same way. And I'm like, what?
See, there are some good parody movies that I haven't seen yet. Namely Top Secret, because I heard a lot of good things about it.
Goodness, I freaking love that movie.
And that's the one that people don't think of, because they think of Airplane, Naked Gun, and some people think of Hot Shots.
Hot Shots is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the first one that I think of. Oh, for fuck's sake.
What's the
Hey, stop hogging the camera. Stop hogging the camera.
Either way. Love Naked Gun. The third one has him literally going to a sperm bank to be undercover and destroying an entire room full of sperm and spilling it everywhere and trying to refill the containers. And it opens up with a full Untouchable sequence where 9 baby buggies roll down it, and they're all trying to catch different baby buggies.
So anyways, my number 2 choice is...
Oh, what you got, man? Dude.
I've decided to put Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2 together because in all seriousness, they are basically funny for the exact same reasons. For those who don't know, for whatever reason, Wayne's World is an SNL skit where Mike Myers is this guy who basically hosts a cable access show on...
I'll get it. You keep talking. I'll take care of the fly. You keep talking.
Who hosts a cable access show from his basement with the help of his best friend Garth, played by Dana Carvey. In the movie, I think it went over here.
It's over here. You just keep talking. I'm going to guard the camera.
In the movie, a TV producer played by Rob Lowe comes upon it and sees this is a great opportunity to take something good and marginalize it and commercialize it. So he takes it to Bill Murray's older brother, Brian Doyle Murray, who a lot of people know for having that incredibly high-pitched but still very nasal voice. Mr. Shirley from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
That guy. And, yeah, it's a pretty good satire of how the media and marketing tends to misrepresent something and take away everything that's so good about it, especially that sequence where they are basically parodying commercials by getting in all of their product placements for it.
I appreciate moments in it, and that's one of the moments.
Yeah. Contractor, no. I will not bow to any sponsor. See, like, it's a great way of parodying something while also giving into it by basically explaining why this shit exists in the first place. And not to mention, the reason everyone watches it in the first place, it takes every opportunity to make a joke out of anything. You have fourth wall breaks, you have singing and dance numbers, you have sight gags, you have verbal gags, you have pretty much anything you can think of, they throw at it just because... To Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, as they were writing this, it just fit the moment that they were in. And it just captures the inner man-child trying to mature aspect that Seth Rogen has perfected ever since. Because I will admit, the story itself and the cliches that come with it are definitely the weaker aspects of the film. Especially towards in the second one where there's that whole... Is Wayne gonna stay with Cassandra? We already know for a fact that they are going to, and yet they still treat it like there's still some tension to it whatsoever. That part was weird. Especially how Cassandra, for some reason, falls in love with evil Christopher Walken, even though the two of them have, like, nothing in common. But seeing evil Christopher Walken in Wayne's World 2, even though it's low-key evil... It's still really cool
Evil
to watch.
Christopher Walken is the best. Have you seen A View to a Kill?
No.
He is Blimps and Grace Jones, and he wants to destroy Silicon Valley.
Unbelievable. But yeah, Wayne's World is a movie that you watch for the moments. Not for the story, not for the characters, but just for the gags. Because, I mean, who hasn't sat in their car jamming out to Bohemian Rhapsody?
That's an important moment. It got
Absolutely.
Bohemian Rhapsody #1 on the Billboard charts after 20 years of being out of circulation for 8 weeks.
And the sad thing is...
That's insane.
And the sad thing is the director of the first movie didn't even want to use it because she didn't think that music matched up with the punk rock style that Wayne and the other characters would regularly listen to. But Myers, being who he was and being in charge, kept fighting for it. And this director was someone who pissed off a lot of people who make dumb shit to begin with. Like this lady, Penelope Cherise, I think is how you say her name. She made a movie that is responsible for David Spade wearing sunglasses indoors. He absolutely hated working on Black Sheep, I think was what
Black
it was called.
Sheep was Tommy Boy, and that's another one. Like, I've watched it and I respect it, but it's just not for me at the end of the day. Like, I have mad respect for the comedy skills in it, but I'm a Joe Dirt guy.
I don't understand that, but yeah, there's so many great moments. Like, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody jamming out in the car, or the two of them playing hockey like they're 10-year-olds on the street, or going into the guitar shop where he's about to play Stairway to Heaven, but the guy stops him, points to a sign that says no playing Stairway to Heaven, and the camera goes to Wayne and Tia Carrera, who is very good as Cassandra. The two of them do have very nice chemistry with each other, and that whole subplot of him learning Cantonese, I believe, in order to communicate with her because she is Chinese.
So?
Yeah. That just goes to show how dedicated he is and how he's capable of maturing in order to have a real-life relationship and not live with his parents who we never see.
I don't know why Stairway to Heaven is banned in guitar shops, but it is.
10 minutes long?
Well, I mean, you don't play all 10 minutes. You could just...
I don't understand it. But...
Everyone's got banned. Don't worry about the fly. We're just going to let it go now. We're just going to let it go.
But yeah, that Alice Cooper's We're Not Worthy thing... Or in Wayne's World 2, I'm not kidding, my favorite part of Wayne's World 2 is when they're spying on Cassandra and Christopher Walken. Wayne is dressed as a construction worker, Garth is a police officer, and their other two buddies are a leatherman and a sailor. Can you guess where this joke is going?
Village people.
Yes. And when Walken discovers them, they all run into this gay bar to hide. And when they get up on stage, because that's where the back exit is, they can get out quickly, they can't get the door open, the DJ looks at them, and he puts on YMCA, and out of nowhere, they realize where they are, but they start dancing anyways. And this is early 1990s where gay culture really didn't have that much respect going for it. But they danced with passion. They did do the hand signals, and because Wayne has been imagining Jim Morrison and a weird naked Indian throughout the entire time, the Indian pops up for a couple seconds to do the bit, and it's weird, it's awkward, but it's still really hilarious.
Reminds me of every Jump Rope for Heart ever. I don't know if you know what Jump Rope for Heart is, but every year we would raise money and skip rope,
I had that
and
in
they
my
would play
school.
YMCA.
every year.
Yeah, because YMCA was
That's
part
what
of
they
the
did.
after-school program.
Yep, that's what they did. So I know the song.
Yeah, which
Just a bit.
was just hilarious. And it makes me wonder why the next scene was Wayne breaking up with a woman afterwards.
I don't know. But I like bits of the movie, like I said. Like, I understand people love it, and I've had mad respect for what it did for modern comedy. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it just, as Angry Video Game Nerd pointed out, it takes every opportunity to use every single joke it can throw at you, and it does it with skill and proper execution. They don't throw it out there just because.
Not
And
like Wrongfully Accused. It's
Sure.
a Leslie Nielsen movie where they throw like 10 jokes at you a minute, and like it just so exhausting to laugh.
Was that like one of the first parody movies that took like every movie relevant at that time?
Yeah. It's really funny if you have a lot of breath in your lungs, because it's just after a while, like near the end, they're just like, go ahead, make my day. I'm like, you're just making references now.
So that was the movie that we can blame for Scary Movie.
Yes.
And Hungover Games. And
But
Starving
this one's
Games.
better than all of them. This one tries, and they could have packed less.
Seriously, we got Hungover Games and Starving Games the exact same year.
This was 97, so, yeah.
But needless to say, Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2,
Yep.
that is how you do a parody movie.
I mean, I would say Airplane is the best parody movie ever, but, you know.
That too.
Because that's literally a parody of a movie.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
from 90s standards when they were starting to lose their way, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, they still had it.
Let's talk Mission Impossible. That's your number one. That's my
Yeah.
number one. You pick number 5. I love number 5.
Fallout 6.
Fallout 6. Oh, what's number 5? Rogue Nation? I'm
Yeah.
Rogue Nation then.
Okay.
I love the character, the sniper. I think it's Elsa is the character, the sniper.
Ilsa Faust, yeah.
I love this franchise because if you ever seen the original Mission Impossible, it's 60s, it's cheesy, it's really fun. But is it a great show to this day? There are better shows that age well at that time, like the original Hawaii Five-O is aged pretty well,
Yeah.
minus some of the later seasons. It's still better than any Hawaii Five-O they can pump out. But this one here took all the elements we like, the mask, the action, the espionage, the sneaking into places, and gave us a wonderful cast from beginning to end, starting with Tom Cruise as our lead, Ving Rhames as the tech guy. Then we've got Elsa Holmes in there. We've got a cast of recurring characters, including Simon Pegg in there, doing some of his best acting as bit parts.
Oh, absolutely.
We get to see levity and drama from Tom Cruise mixed with his wife. Some of the best villains we've ever seen in any franchise. The example being Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3, who's fantastic.
He does have his moments. I
And-
wouldn't say he's one of the best. Like, at that point, he was the best.
Yes, but every movie, the Scientologist keeps giving us more awesome. I don't know what more we could want out of the movies. You go and you see him climb a building, and then the next time he's hanging out of a helicopter. And then there's motorcycle chases, and he's going underwater and holding his breath for 5 minutes at a time for actual realsies because he's Tom Cruise. I don't even know what they're going to give me in the next one. I don't watch the trailers for these things anymore. I'm like, you know what? Tom Cruise is going to do something amazing, and I want to be there to see it. I don't want to know a single thing. I understand that they bought a real airplane and crashed it for this one.
I think that's for Tenet.
Well, they got some airplanes in that too.
Yeah.
But yeah. But this man will do anything to entertain me.
Yeah.
And I will gladly see him do it. My particular favorite, Rogue Nation, I think has one of the best plots with disavowed agents, as well as impersonating the Prime Minister, and we get to see Simon Pegg do a little bit more and step up in there. We get to see this brilliant motorcycle chase, the underwater holding sequences, awesome encryptic data sequence that's incredibly detailed and would never work in real life.
No.
But is it awesome in a movie?
Absolutely.
100%. We get to see the torn loyalties, and we get to see Tom Cruise hanging out of a helicopter. We bring back his wife. We get to see what the impact of if they don't complete this mission is, and I'm like, I love this movie. But number 6, what do you love about number 6?
I don't remember Michelle Monaghan being in the 5th one.
Oh, was it number 6? I don't
Yeah.
know. They're all pretty great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, I felt like Fallout was as big as you could possibly get in regards to the scope of everything, because I mean,
I'm gonna get the fly.
yeah, he almost got the record button.
Get out of here. You keep going.
But for me, first of all, it was great that they brought a director back to make a second movie.
Christopher McQuarrie.
Yes, Christopher McQuarrie, I think, should direct every
All of
single
them.
Mission Impossible movie from then on in.
Unlike
And that's
David
not to
Yates,
say-
he needs to stop.
And that's not to say that changing the director every now and then was a bad thing to begin
No.
with, because that used to be like the defining feature. You had Brian De Palma direct the first one as this Hitchcockian thriller, and that made it absolutely fantastic, especially breaking into Langley headquarters.
Yep.
We thought that was as big as it could possibly get.
Then we get John Woo with
the
epic
second
slow
one.
motion. Is it dumb
Kind
and
of,
cheesy?
kind of, sort of.
But
epic.
he's hanging off a freaking cliff with
That-
no ropes
that
for the
first-
opening.
Or we have two motorcycles playing chicken with each other,
Yeah.
and then they jump in the air, tackle each other, and 5 broken ribs later, they actually start fighting.
Yeah.
They actually held a real-life knife to Tom Cruise's eye that was suspended
have
from a wire.
No other way.
Exactly.
No other way to make this movie.
And
J.J. Abrams in number 3.
great, one of the best directorial debuts on that one. He directed it in... It was a mixture of generic blockbuster with the Brian De Palma thriller aspects. There were too many close-ups, too much shaky cam, and too many lens flares once in a while.
Yep.
But for the most part, you still felt the intensity of the story. The characters' motivations were prioritized first. With Brad Bird, he has that quirky...
Incredibles, live action, and Mission Impossible. How could you get any better?
Brad Bird has that straightforward action comedy, because that was the overall vibe that I got. He has that playful side to him that he has always had in all of his films. He shows that he is incredibly good at directing live action, and most people do not believe me on this, but you know what? He improved upon it with Tomorrowland. I really like
I haven't seen Tomorrowland. I can't speak to that. I know that you liked it, but no one else did. But I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to that.
Oh, no. There are people who really like it. But yeah, Brad Bird brought the action comedy aspect that Christopher McQuarrie has taken and expanded upon, turned it into the action comedy thriller that we got with Rogue Nation and with Fallout. And with Fallout, it's just so much more impressive with how huge fucking everything is. Right down to Tom Cruise rescuing Henry Cavill in a skydiving sequence that was manipulated into seeming like it was one take. They did a great job with that. The bathroom fight, best scene in the entire movie. The sound mixing and sound editing with the punches and kicks
my
and
goodness.
all the destruction.
Put more men
awesome.
through urinals. It makes me happy.
Was awesome, and it helps that the fight sequence itself was filmed in beautiful wide shots. Henry Cavill... best performance of his career. He has never been
Man
better.
from U.N.C.L.E., I would argue. He's awesome in that. He's awesome in Man from U.N.C.L.E.
The Guy Ritchie quirky humor was a change of pace for him, and I appreciated that.
I love Man from U.N.C.L.E.
But I just love how tough and stern that he was in Fallout.
Yep.
But yeah, bathroom fight sequence, best fight.
He
in the
reloads his
movie.
fucking fist. There's a sound effect. Everyone was like, I hate that. I'm like,
it was awesome.
I love that.
That was awesome.
He hangs off an airplane for real?
Yeah.
There's no reason Batman should have to do that. But he did it.
Dueling helicopters where Tom Cruise actually climbs up a rope.
Yeah.
Or the building chase where he jumps through a window, and we have that hilarious bit where he jumps out the window, then he looks, cuts to everyone just going, that was hilarious. And Betty's like, why are you stopping? I'm jumping out of a window. Oh, right. Sorry.
I love Benji.
The fact that they kept his broken ankle shot in the damn movie.
And I think one of the things that puts this franchise apart from it is, one, they keep upping the stunts. 2, the directors are always phenomenal. Every movie has an identity, well maintaining the core cast in some capacity and maintaining that consistency throughout. And there's not stupidity. It's how do we do it so that it's cool but makes sense to the plot? Because Fast and Furious, I will admit, I have a great time with it. Do I think
100%.
jumping a car through a window and having Ronda Rousey in it, is that stupid? Sure. Did I enjoy it? Yes.
Well,
but
I would have enjoyed it if Ronda Rousey
was not a terrible actor and took the whole movie away from us?
and And if that scene was actually filmed in steady wide shots and edited properly, because
Yes.
James Wan was still figuring out how to do an action.
Oh, the action in this is always visible. They make sure you
Yeah.
know they spent the money and the time, and they spent 3 weeks having Tom Cruise climb this whatever tower it was.
Yeah,
They
and here's
make
the
sure
thing.
you know it.
Here's the thing. Christopher Nolan fought with Tenet. He was like bringing things back. Brad Bird and Christopher McQuarrie brought it back a long time ago.
I mean, I think there's only one way to elevate this franchise. There's only one way to elevate this franchise. Mission Impossible, whatever you want to call it, whatever Tom Cruise does for stunts, surprise me. Bring in the stunt choreographers from John Wick with the cinematographer and the director who are working now constantly on the Mission Impossible franchise. I think that would elevate it to a whole new level.
There's some real potential there, and with the way Cruise goes and sees other action movies, because there's that whole video of him going on a bus with a mask on to see Tenet and saying how much he loved it. Obviously, he wants to work with other filmmakers.
Yeah, that was a fun minute. Tom Cruise, I don't know what his deal is or what he's doing, but whenever I see him doing anything, that man makes me happy.
And of course, him buying out hopefully a clean and sanitized cruise ship for the Mission Impossible cruise, so that they can get the movie done within reason.
In Rome or something, Italy there.
That's dedication. And
oh
look,
man, this man loves his movie.
And look, he might be rich, but nobody just pays that much money just because. As far as I know.
I mean, he really is invested in every project he does. Even the amount of work he put into Jack Reacher Never Go Back shows it's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
They hid drugs inside of rocket launchers, which is also illegal.
Give that a rest already.
But he really put his heart and soul into it.
Which, by the way, I wish Alan Richardson luck for the Amazon Jack Reacher TV show. I think he's a good choice to play Jack Reacher for TV. He's got the tough composure. So
yeah,
I wish him luck on that. I also wish Chris McQuarrie luck to just make a third one already.
What was that one show that they put? Who's the guy from A Quiet Place? John Krasinski did the.
Jack Ryan's a good show.
Jack Ryan. I was not expecting a lot out of him, but he really impressed me. That guy's got a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know he's going to be good in A Quiet Place, whatever. You know.
Well, I know he's going to do a good job directing.
You know he is going to do a fantastic job. So regardless,
but yeah, not so much in terms of story and character in regards to the franchise, but they found a way to make it not matter, and that's just the great thing about it. If you want to make a spectacle movie over a substance movie, Christopher Nolan, you clearly did not do that much research. I like Tenet. Not gonna lie, still want to see it in theaters, even though I thought it was good but not great. But I mean, this has the spectacle and it has enough character and story to make it intense. I took my family to see Fallout, they were just like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And that's exactly the reaction you need from a movie like this.
Like when I saw Rogue Nation and Fallout and any of these movies, every time I go in, I'm like, "This is gonna be awesome." I know nothing about it. I saw the trailer for whatever, the fourth one. Ghost Protocol, yeah. But I'm left breathless that people do these stunts for me, and then I can pay $12 to watch this movie.
Yeah.
It is the most enjoyable cinema experience of the year. For me, by far. Is it the best movie I've seen? But sitting in a theater watching this movie, the audience is attentive, because we just don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And no one's on their phones. Everyone's just like, holy crap, they did that thing. And I'm just like...
That's how you do it.
And I hear about things like he buys a cruise ship or he holds his breath or he's hanging off an airplane or he's shooting something in zero gravity. And I'm like...
Yeah, see, here's the thing.
Amazing.
Like, when Rogue Nation came out, I was the only person in my circle of friends who actually liked it more than Ghost Protocol, because everyone was just spoiled with... the Burj Khalifa scene, which, don't get me wrong, is still fantastic. But in regards to the story, characterization, and the elevated stunt work, I still think Rogue Nation was better.
The stunt work gets better every movie. I think there's only one movie sequence that I would say has a better action sequence. I would say the opening of Casino Royale is some of the best action I've ever seen. And then the rest of it, the best action I've ever seen in my life, goes to...
Is that the parkour sequence?
The parkour sequence.
Oh, without
the parkour sequence, a John Wick sequence, or something from Atomic Blonde, and then everything else is Mission Impossible. Best action out there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I love this franchise. I particularly like the fifth one. You like the sixth one. I love the sixth one. I like the story in the fifth one a little bit better.
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
action is better in number 6 for sure.
Yeah, and like seeing it on the big screen, that was just the icing on the cake.
The only movies I see in IMAX are Mission Impossible because it's just so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I most of the movies I won't go out of my way to see in IMAX, but this is one. So we love Mission Impossible. How about you guys? We've gushed over this like a purple flavored gusher from my childhood.
No need to cover the entire Mission Impossible franchise here anymore.
We just brushed over it roughly.
In fact, well, okay, it's not going to be half the video, but it might as well be.
It might as well be half the video. I think we've done a solid maybe 30 minutes on it, but that's our list. I think probably definitely the best adaptation of anything on this list because it makes its own identity and we love it so much. And it's one thing we can't wait for more of. That's something about TV adaptations. It constantly disappoints us sometimes, or the sequels aren't as good, but this could be possibly the best action franchise in history.
Possibly.
Because, I mean, you can't put Rambo or Predator or any of those, like, classic ones up there, or even Aliens, because they all have bad entries. Tell me a bad Mission Impossible entry.
2.
Number 2, and if that's your worst, I'll take it over the Predator.
Yeah, not gonna lie, because even though Fast and Furious has gotten better over the time
Yes.
by accepting just how fucking pathetic it is.
I like number 7 and 8. They're fun.
Yeah, I prefer 5, 6, and 8. And
those are good, too.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh
I
my-
love Hobbs and Shaw.
I was dying laughing.
It's
in that
not
movie.
good, but Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, I could watch those two forever.
I'm Black
And
Superman.
there are people-
What a great line. What a great quote.
And there are people in the franchise right now that I can't watch forever. I can't watch Tyrese forever.
Oh,
Fucking
Tyrese,
shut up.
He needs to shut up, or he's not going to have a franchise. Because who are you going to choose, The Rock or Tyrese Gibson?
Oh, gee, what a tough choice.
Yeah, and I mean Michelle Rodriguez is cool, but like,
See, her I don't mind.
I
And the
just-
fact that she's technically the most fleshed out character thanks to the whole amnesia storyline.
I think you got to bring back Gal Gadot. I think you got to bring her back for that.
Yeah, but she's the only one who's like dead.
Yeah, but so is Han, and they're finding a way to bring him back. So whatever.
Yeah, but like you didn't see him like in the car when it blew up. So they had like bullshit loopholes.
You could have them come back somehow. I'm sure. I'm sure it's humanly possible.
Well, if it is true that the last movie is going to take place in space, then
What? See, then
It
that
probably
news came
will.
out. It was like Fast and Furious is in space. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
I don't know.
It made perfect sense to me because, like, where do you go? Like, Mission Impossible finds new ways to do different stunts in different ways that blow our minds.
I'll wait for Tom Cruise to go into space, then you can talk to me about Fast and Furious.
But then Fast and Furious, you've got to go literally to space because there's nothing more you can do with a car that I can think of.
well,
they
had
jump
a,
ships.
well, they had a
they
submarine, but they
parachuted.
haven't gone underwater.
Then they go into James Bond territory. I don't know if I'm into that.
Yeah, but I mean, going to space is James Bond territory.
Only because they're trying to jump on the and I'm not kidding. I'm gonna give you this scene, then we're gonna wrap up the video. So in James Bond Moonraker, it takes place in space. Drax is building a giant space station, trying to be the perfect race, make the perfect human beings, and take them to space. It's really stupid. And they have space lasers and stuff. So he's fighting these bad guys, and they knock him out and put him in an ambulance. Okay.
Right.
So they put him in an ambulance, and he wakes up, he's conscious, he slides down out of the ambulance, right?
Right.
And then they just cut to him riding a horse, full Clint Eastwood with the Magnificent Seven theme, rides up, and Q shows him gadgets. No explanation whatsoever. Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. There was also a fight with glass swords, and he puts a guy through a piano after he throws him out of, like, the Big Ben. It's ridiculous.
I don't know what hurts my head more, all of our constant shouting or just how stupid that plot is.
It's really stupid. Then they made For Your Eyes Only, which was actually worse because it was too generic and not taking any chances. But then they jumped back into Octopussy and he was a clown and it was strange and there were Fabergé eggs and then Christopher Walken had a blimp. It was a bad time.
You amuse me, Mr. Bond.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's we love movies, we love adaptions, and we love TV shows. One of these days we're going to have to do our top 6 TV shows of all time. You already know my number one. But that's another day. That's
just
another
on
day.
the list.
You know, Community will be up there somewhere. I don't know
shit,
where.
that bug almost hit the fucking button.
Well, the bug is forcing us to wrap. Tyler with 2 F's for fucking fantastic. Where do we find you?
You can find me by typing in those 2 F's
Or in the description,
or in the description of this video, where I will have a list of my 2020 movie reviews, since I am bunching up my TIFF reviews with the stuff I've already seen this year.
Send me a link. I'll pop them in there.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you will have a link of the 2 of us ranting about the devil all the time.
Oh, that's a special movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coen Brothers meets Tenants meets Snooze Fest.
Not the comparison I would have thought of, but that's...
It's weirdly Coen Brothers.
I guess...
Okay, the bug.
Get off the fucking button. Anyways, you can find my channel in the description below.
Anyway, that's it for us. Have yourself a wonderful evening, day, morning, whatever time I post this. And remember, Tom Cruise is for the people, by the people.